Greetings, kindred friend. The Buddha once left a powerful teaching that I want you to engrave in your heart tonight. Your own self is your master. Who else could be? When stepping into the golden chapter of life, this should be the sacred time for you to harvest stillness and wisdom. However, do you realize that this peace is sometimes fragile before the people we allow to be present around us? The truth is, there are connections that will water your soul, but there are also people who only silently drain that vital energy. Some connections nourish the soul, while others drain it. It is time we need to awaken to protect our inner temple. Tonight, I invite you to explore together 5 types of people that ancient wisdom advises us to skillfully avoid, to fully preserve the light of peace for the precious remaining life ahead. You do not need to please the whole world. You only need to master your own kingdom of peace. The first type of person, the emotional manipulator. Dear friend, try to imagine a relationship in your life. It could be a distant relative or even a close family member. Initially, everything seemed very gentle. They came to you with small pleas, difficulties needing help. With the tolerant nature of someone who has gone through many ups and downs, you willingly reached out your hand. However, notice, over time, those pleas gradually turned into taken-for-granted demands. If you refuse, they start using the most formidable weapon, guilt. They recall old favors, they complain about their misery, and inadvertently, they turn you into the villain. If you choose to take care of yourself, there is a bitter truth we need to awaken to realize. Manipulators are skilled artists at exploiting kindness. Manipulators are skilled at exploiting kindness. They do not see your sacrifice, they only see a resource they can utilize endlessly. In the wisdom of the Buddha, there is a sacred boundary that sometimes out of compassion we forget. Compassion never means indulging evil or harm. If helping a person only makes them lazy, reliant, and drags your soul down into the abyss of stress, then it is no longer compassion. That is a lack of awakening. Tonight, I invite you to perform a small mindfulness exercise for your heart. Every time you receive a request that makes you ponder, do not rush to answer. Pause. Take a deep breath and ask your soul, does this bring harmony or does it bring the tightening of stress? If your body responds with an exhausting fatigue, that is a sign that your boundary is being violated. Understand that. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is a form of mindfulness. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is an expression of mindfulness. You can absolutely say loving but decisive words. I understand your situation, and I am very sorry for that. However, right now, I need to spend time and energy taking care of myself. Do not fear judgment. When you dare to protect your energy, only then do you have enough light to truly help the world in the wisest way. Sleep in the silent pride of someone who has learned how to love themselves. You owe no one your peace. The night is deep. Let the burdens that are not yours fall to the forgiving ground. The second type of person, souls who only know themselves. Try recalling the most recent conversation that left you feeling empty. Was it when you sat opposite a person who, for the whole session, only talked incessantly about their own achievements, difficulties, or life scenarios? They seemed to only wait for the moment you stopped talking to continue pouring out their stream of ideas. In that space, your thoughts, precious experiences, and even your presence seem to completely vanish. There is a silent truth that we often feel but rarely name. They are obscuring your presence. They overshadow your presence. At this age, when the world out there begins to rush by too fast, our greatest fear is becoming invisible. When next to a person who only knows themselves, that feeling of being invisible becomes even more cruel. You see yourself like a ghost in your own conversation, and when leaving, the only thing remaining is a silent fatigue in the chest. However, Buddhist wisdom invites you to look at them with eyes of compassion instead of resentment. Understand that. They act from a lack of awareness, not from a malicious heart. They are like a person, burning with thirst in the desert, too absorbed in finding a water source for their ego to have enough stillness to realize there is a spring of wisdom sitting right next to them, which is you. They are overflowing cups, and therefore they cannot receive any more beauty from the surrounding world. Tonight, I invite you to perform a powerful shift in consciousness. You have no obligation to be a reluctant audience for the plays of other egos. Your peace is sacred, and your energy needs to be reserved for connections with true intersection. Learn to navigate conversations gently, or bravely limit contact with energy sources that only know how to take in without knowing how to water. Find your way back to friends who know how to appreciate silence with you. People who understand that a true relationship is when two souls illuminate each other, not one person monopolizing the other's aura. Sleep in the reassurance that your value is internal, not dependent on whether someone sees you or not. You are inherently whole light, and tonight you are safe to rest right in your own radiant aura. The third type of person, the habitual judgers and critics. Dear friend, try to quietly recall a moment when you just found a small joy, perhaps a new hobby in your twilight years, or a simple lifestyle change that made you feel light. But the very moment you shared it, someone poured cold water with judgments. Why do that at this age? Or, why do you choose such a strange way to live? These judges are everywhere. They do not look into your heart. They look at their own strict standards and prejudices to measure your life. When with them, you feel your confidence gradually wearing away, like a stone worn away by flowing water. You begin to doubt your self-worth and feel your old age is very small and full of mistakes. However, the Buddha left a wise lesson helping us stand firm against all winds of public opinion. He used a powerful metaphor. Words are like arrows. But an arrow can only cause pain if you allow it to pierce through the armor of the mind to touch your heart. Words are like arrows. They only hurt when allowed into the heart. You need to understand that others' judgment is actually a reflection of their own unstable inner self, not your reality. When a person criticizes you, they are revealing the fear and limitation in their soul. You have no obligation to pick up those poisoned arrows and stab yourself in the heart. Tonight, I invite you to perform a ritual of dignity. Reclaim the sovereignty to master your life. You have gone through enough storms to understand what brings you peace. Do not let anyone redefine your happiness with foreign yardsticks. Tomorrow, if you encounter a judgment again, smile with the highest awakening. You can say a brief but weighty sentence. I appreciate your perspective, but right now I am feeling very fine and satisfied with my life. When you stop empowering the words of others to hurt you, you will find your shoulders strangely light. The dignity of old age does not lie in receiving the world's agreement, but lies in the sovereignty when we know who we are amidst thousands of words of praise and criticism. Sleep in the fulfillment of a soul unblemished by external judgments. The night is deep. Let toxic words vanish into the void, returning to you the purest stillness. The fourth type of person, souls who reject responsibility. Dear friend, try quietly looking into your life. Is there always someone around you, perhaps a longtime friend or even a family member, whose life seems to be an endless series of crises? They come to you to rely financially, to unload emotional troubles, and by default consider your tolerance as an endless reserve. You have spent a lifetime saving them, but after all, they still stand in the same place, while you are exhausted. In the profound wisdom of the Buddha, there is a most fair and sacred law of the universe, the law of karma. He taught that each person carries their own karma, and awakening only truly comes when we dare to face the results of the actions we have caused. When you constantly step up to solve all mistakes for others, you are not saving them. Unintentionally, you are depriving them of the most precious opportunity to learn and grow. It is time we need to practice an advanced form of love that masters call compassionate detachment. Do not mistakenly believe detachment is turning your back or being unfeeling. Detachment is actually absolute trust in the journey of every soul. You love them, but you stand still on the shore of awakening to act as a lighthouse, instead of plunging into the rushing waterfall, only for both to be swept away. Engrave this powerful truth to relieve all guilt in your soul. You have no obligation to solve problems that are not yours. You are not obligated to solve problems that are not yours. There is a huge difference between helping and saving. Helping is giving them a pair of crutches when their leg hurts, while saving is carrying them on your back for the entire stretch of life's road. Tonight, I invite you to perform a sacred transformation. Whisper to those who are relying on you in your mind that, I love you, I wish you peace, but I return to you the right to master your own life. When you dare to let go of burdens that do not belong to you, you are practicing the most profound teaching of freedom. You give them growth and give yourself stillness. Sleep in the relief of a soul that has seen through the ways of the world. The night is deep. Let each person face their own sky, while you rest in the kingdom of peace you have cultivated. The fifth type of person, ungrateful souls. Dear friend, try quietly recalling an act of kindness you gave away with all your heart. It could be dedicated care, a spiritual gift, or simply the presence beside someone in their hardest time. But instead of receiving an acknowledgement, you only received indifference, taking it for granted, or worse, demanding even more. How did that feel? Was it a disappointment, a smoldering wound making you doubt the value of kindness? Ungrateful people are not necessarily evil, but they are like a cracked earthen jar. No matter how many streams of kindness water you pour in, that jar will never be full, and your precious water simply vanishes into nothingness. When with them, the joy of giving in you is gradually extinguished, replaced by exhaustion and the feeling of being used. In Buddhist wisdom, the act of giving, also known as the perfection of generosity, dana, is a noble practice to cast aside the ego. However, the Buddha also taught that kindness must always go hand in hand with wisdom. Giving without attachment does not mean giving blindly. If you continue to sow seeds of kindness on arid land that does not know how to appreciate, you are wasting your spiritual capital. Engrave this truth to protect your dignity. Kindness is a priceless gift. It deserves to receive respect. Kindness is a precious gift. It deserves respect. Tonight, I invite you to practice a sacred shift. It is time you stop pouring water into the cracked jar. Learn to direct your kindness toward those who know how to cherish it, or more simply, reserve that kindness for your own tired soul. Tomorrow, if you encounter ingratitude again, you do not need to be angry or resentful. Whisper a healing mantra for yourself. My kindness is a light, and I choose to light it where the light is appreciated. I no longer owe anyone meaningless sacrifices. When you dare to recall love from unworthy places, you will see you have lost nothing at all. On the contrary, you are restoring your sacred dignity and self-respect. Sleep in the fulfillment of a wise gardener, knowing how to reserve precious water drops for the green shoots that truly want to rise. The night is deep. Let your heart be warmed by the very self-respect and complete stillness you have just rediscovered. Dear friend, protecting peace in the twilight years is not an act of escaping, but the ultimate wisdom to honor life. The Buddha taught that peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. When you stop trying to change others and start mastering your inner kingdom, you will see the surrounding world also automatically become gentler. Understand and practice this sacred command starting tonight. Allow yourself to be surrounded by love, kindness, and respect. Surround yourself with love, kindness, and respect. You absolutely deserve a pure space for wisdom to sprout. If this video has brought your soul a soothing pause, please spread this light with a like button and subscribe to the channel. That is how we together build an awakened community amidst the long night. Before closing your eyes, I invite you to leave a comment. I choose stillness as a sacred commitment to yourself. Wishing you a long night of peace, complete letting go, and waking up in the radiant light of sovereignty. Goodbye and see you again.